everybody. Welcome back to KTM Sports Nation. I am your host, Kevin Tyler McGuinness, and I can't wait for this weekend. We have the BMF title fight between two absolute legends, Charles Oliveira versus Max Holloway. I mean, this is going to be one of the best fights in the history of the UFC, I believe. It's going to be the most finishing fighter, Charles Oliveira, against one of the best boxers in the history of the UFC, Max Holloway. I believe he is definitely one of the best boxers in the history of the UFC and has the most signature moment at UFC 300 with the knockout on Justin Gaethje, which was absolutely insane. And on top of that, we have Dana White confirming that this is the announcement for the UFC White House after UFC 326 is all wrapped up. So we have an amazing matchup between Max Holloway and Charles Oliveira for the BMF title. And then after that, we have the historic, once-in-a-lifetime, I believe, White House UFC card. It's going to be absolutely insane. I can't wait for Dana White to make this announcement. It's going to be the biggest announcement in UFC history for sure, and it's featured multiple title fights. I believe it's going to be it's going to be a lot of title fights. It's going to be between 6 to 7 title fights, fights in general, and I believe it's going to be star-studded. I can't wait for it. So we've got a BMF fight. We got the historic announcement from Dana White Saturday night after UFC 326 is all wrapped up. It's crazy what's happening with Tom Aspinall, but we'll talk about that later on. I'm excited to see this all unfold tomorrow night. But first of all, I want to get into the BMF title fight between Max Holloway and Charles Oliveira, the second time these two have fought. It headlines in UFC 326 in Las Vegas. Holloway is defending the BMF belt, which he previously won and defended, like I said, against Dustin Poirier, which was Dustin Poirier's last match of his career in Louisiana. Dustin Poirier lost that fight fair and square, I believe, against Max Holloway via decision. And Max Holloway is the BMF belt. Oliveira is the former UFC lightweight champion, and he is definitely the most dangerous, if not one of the greatest finishers in UFC history. He has the most finishes in UFC history, MMA history. You know, they fought back in 2015. You know, Oliveira, unfortunately, you know, it wasn't the hype like it was because these two were very, very early in their career. But Oliveira suffered injury during a takedown attempt, and it was more than a decade ago. So these two have built up their names, and it's exciting to see these two, one of the most violent and fearless fighters in the sport, because they don't talk crap. They prove it with their action, and they just knock people out. They submit. Well, Max Holloway knocks people out, and Charles Oliveira could do it both ways. He can knock people out and submit them. So I'm very excited to see how this fight unfolds. And Holloway, moving, he's going to be at lightweight for this. It's going to be a 155 bout. And Charles Oliveira is used to fighting at 155. He also hinted, going back to featherweight, which I think is a stretch. I mean, I don't know about that. But like I said, it's been over a decade since they fought, and I'm looking forward to these two fighting. Charles Oliveira is trying to come back and reestablish himself after a knockout blow. I mean, he got totally knocked out against Ilia Topuria in 2025. He's trying to reestablish himself, but we'll see. I mean, I think if he loses it, people are going to start considering, and maybe it's time to hang it up. Even though he is a great, great fighter, Charles Oliveira, I love him a lot. I like Max Holloway a lot. These are two of my favorite entertaining fighters in the UFC. Both bring it every time. They don't bring it on the mic because they're very humble. They are very humble. They just prove it in the octagon. So I'm excited to see it. Holloway's got definitely the best volume striking, I believe, in the UFC as a boxer. Incredible cardio, and his chin. Besides being knocked out by Ilia Topuria, he's never been knocked out ever in the history. He's never been knocked down in the history of his career until Ilia Topuria, which Ilia Topuria to me is the best fighter in the UFC right now. But Charles Oliveira, most submissions in UFC history, very aggressive when it comes to going for the submission. He loves taking his opponents down, And that's going to be a big question when it comes to these two. Will Max Holloway be able to stay out of the ground game with Charles Oliveira? I mean, that's going to be a big question because Charles is definitely going to want to choke him or break his arm or submit him in any way possible because he is the greatest submission artist in the UFC. People say Khabib because of his wrestling undefeated record. I think Charles Oliveira is way better, especially with the amount of submission wins he has in the UFC. I think Charles Oliveira could beat Max Holloway. I'm picking Max Holloway to win this, but could beat Max Holloway because of the submission, and Max got to be able to defend it. So if it's a ground game, Charles Oliveira could win. But Oliveira did come out and say in the press conference and before the press conference that he is willing to stand up and fight Max Holloway. I don't know if you're going to want to do that. I mean, Max Holloway is one of the best boxers in the UFC. He is unbelievable. I still can't get over the moment when he was talking smack and he said, "I'm the best boxer in the UFC," and then all of a sudden he just weaves. He's talking to the camera and he's fighting somebody literally and talking smack and moving away. I mean, that was one of the greatest moments in the history of the UFC. And like I said, UFC 300, the greatest knockout I believe in the history of the UFC, when Max Holloway knocked out Justin Gaethje to win the BMF belt. One of the greatest, if not the greatest knockout in the history of the UFC. It's going to be an absolute unbelievable fight. This is going to be probably, I believe, the best fight right now of 2026 because these two are absolute legends and they know how to entertain the crowd. So I'm very, very looking forward to this. The question is, will Max Holloway pace overwhelm Oliveira when it comes to stand-up? Because Charles Oliveira has been knocked out before, obviously, most recently by Ilia Topuria. And Max Holloway could definitely knock him out. It's a big question if Charles Oliveira could stand long enough in the ring to sustain those blows, because I don't know if Charles Oliveira's chin can be able to handle Max Holloway's punches. Or, like I said, will Charles Oliveira drag him into a grappling match on the ground? And I think that will be big, big trouble for Max Holloway because I don't know if he could be able to defend the submission and be able to take down. I don't think he'll be able to stay. I don't think he'll be able to defend the submission, honestly, because Charles Oliveira is the best at it, my opinion, in the UFC right now and maybe ever, because he's just that good when it comes to submitting his opponents. He is an unbelievable Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He's unbelievable. He's unbelievable. We'll see. I have Max Holloway though winning by knockout. Because I don't know if Charles Oliveira's chin can handle Max Holloway's power and pace when it comes to his boxing. He's just unbelievable when it comes to standing up and be able to throw those punches when it's a straight punch, a jab, uppercut. The guy's unbelievable. Left hook, right hook. He's the best boxer in the UFC besides Ilia Topuria, because Ilia Topuria is the best boxer. And then I would put Max Holloway number 2. Like I said, Ilia Topuria was the only guy to ever knock down Max Holloway. So we'll see what happens when it comes to Max Holloway beating Charles Oliveira. I have him winning by knockout, but he could very well win by decision. I don't think this is going to decision. I think it's either somebody's getting choked out or somebody's getting knocked out. So I'm excited, very excited to see this fight. This is the best fight of 2026 by far. The two of the baddest fighters in the UFC. That's why it's the BMF. These guys prove it. They show it. They come to fight every single time in the octagon. The crowd loves them. They are two of the fan favorites. It's two of them one of my favorites. So it's going to be an exciting fight. I have Max Holloway winning this fight by knockout, but he could win by decision because it's a matter if Charles Oliveira can withstand Max Holloway's punches. So we will see. But here's the big thing. No matter who wins this fight, they both have called out my favorite fighter ever and in the UFC, Conor McGregor, for the BMF belt. They both came out and they've said that they want to fight him for the BMF belt. And the next fight I see after this is the White House, because they won't fight, I don't think, in between that. So I think Dana White has to have Conor on this card. It's overdue. It's overdue. I think it's time for him to be back in the octagon. It's way overdue, but Max Holloway called out Conor, and so did Charles Oliveira. They're both welcoming the greatest entertaining fighter, the greatest draw in the history of the company of the UFC. He is the biggest draw in the history of the UFC. I'm looking forward to him making his comeback. The Mac is back. Let's go. I can't wait for Conor to come back and win. I'm hoping he wins. That's my hope. I hope he wins. I mean, it's not going to be easy against, Max Holloway and Charles Oliveira because, like I said, Max Holloway is he's been a featherweight champ. He's a BMF champ now. Charles Oliveira was a lightweight champion, and he's one of the best submission guys in the UFC. And I'm worried if Charles Oliveira fought Conor McGregor, if Charles Oliveira would choke him out, and he could do that. But I'm excited for Conor to come back and fight one of these two for the BMF belt because I don't think there's another fight that you could give Conor that would be more entertaining on the White House to see, between these two. I think it's time for Conor to make a comeback, and he's motivated for the White House, and people have asked Dana White on this historic card if Conor McGregor is on it. But like I said, Dana White at the press conference, pre-press conference in UFC 326, did say that he will announce the White House card. Here's a video of him announcing it.
Are we getting the White House main event announcement this week?
I'll announce the whole card this week. The card's done. Yeah, the card's done. We've been so secretive about this, so I have all these boards, which I'm sure you've seen, hanging in our war room. This isn't even on the board. We bring in a whiteboard, we write the fights down, then we erase them every time we have a matchmaking meeting, which usually matchmaking meetings are every Tuesday. They've been every day for the last, 2.5 weeks.
Is Conor McGregor going to be on that card, being Irish basket?
We'll see. We'll see, brother.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see when, Conor, Dana White announces, the White House card. I'm very excited to see it. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I think Alex Pereira is going to be on it. I think Conor McGregor is going to be on it. I think Jon Jones is going to be on it. I think Max Holloway or Charles Oliveira will be the opponent for Conor McGregor for the BMF belt because I don't think, obviously, Conor and Chandler is out the window. We could see Ilya Poirier and Islam Makhachev on this card. I mean, this card is going to be absolutely stacked. I 100% believe that this card is going to be one of the greatest cards. It is going to be the greatest card in the UFC. But I have another clip for you with Dana White announcing at the press conference, at the Max Holloway and Charles Oliveira press conference, with him saying that it will be confirmed on Saturday night who is fighting on the White House. So here it is.
You have said you're announcing the White House card this week. When exactly this week can we expect that announcement?
Saturday night.
Yeah, so like I said, there's Dana White announcing the White House card on Saturday night after UFC 326. This is going to be once in a lifetime event, and I can't wait to see it. Like I said, it's going to be 6 to 7 title fights or fights in general, whatever. We'll know confirming it tomorrow. It's going to be one of the greatest. It's going to be the greatest card in the history of the UFC. If Conor McGregor isn't on it, if Jon Jones isn't on it, if Alex Pereira isn't on it, it's going to be a major disappointment because everybody's going to be watching this. If you're a fighter, and if you're not a fighter, if you love fighting, you are going to love this card because it's going to be absolutely the numbers that this card is going to put up on TV, whether it's pay-per-view, because rumor is Dana White wants it to be a pay-per-view now all of a sudden. But if it's not a pay-per-view, it'll be Paramount Plus, CBS, on Optimum or whatever you have DirecTV. I'm excited. I mean, look at all the UFC landmark cards and events we've had. UFC 100's done. 200, 300. Now you have this. This is going to be one of the biggest moments in the history of the UFC. Seeing this card, it's going to be, I believe, the most watched UFC event in the history of the company. When you have two of the greatest superstars to ever step foot in the octagon with Conor McGregor and Jon Jones. Jones just said at a signing and a photo op that he is in negotiations to fight on the White House card. So that was good to hear. Hopefully it's true. Alex Pereira just vacated his belt to move up to heavyweight. So if Tom Aspinall isn't ready, the only fight that I could see at heavyweight for the heavyweight championship in the UFC is Alex Pereira versus Jon Jones. And if Jones isn't serious, and if he's just talking again, and Dana White denies it, I don't know how you don't have Jon Jones on this card. He is the greatest American fighter ever in the history of mixed martial arts. I think he's the greatest mixed martial artist who ever fought ever, besides like Bruce Lee or Chuck Norris. But still, like I said, Jon Jones the greatest ever in the history of the UFC. Nobody even comes close. He's undefeated. He's the greatest fighter. Even Dana White will say he is the greatest fighter in the history of the UFC. But if he's not on this card and Alex Pereira needs an opponent, I believe it'll be Ciryl Gane. I don't see why it wouldn't be Ciryl Gane. After his performance against Tom Aspinall and then losing, unfortunately, actually it was determined a no contest because Ciryl Gane poked Tom Aspinall in his eye, and they stopped the fight. They ruled it a no contest, and the champion gets to keep the belt. But Ciryl Gane was definitely beating Tom Aspinall for the championship, and he deserved to be champion if he didn't poke him in the eye. And now Tom Aspinall, I believe, is exaggerating a little bit with the eye injury, but we'll see what happens. I don't think Tom Aspinall will be defending the heavyweight belt at the White House. I think it's going to be between Alex Pereira and Jon Jones, and this is going to be one of the greatest fights in the history of the UFC ever. You have one of the best fighters in Alex Pereira. I mean, he is two-time division champion, middleweight, light heavyweight, and now going for being the first fighter maybe to win 3 belts in 3 different divisions at heavyweight against one of the greatest fighter in the history of the UFC, Jon Jones. I mean, who wouldn't want to see that fight? I mean, it's going to be absolutely insane if that fight goes down. I think Jones wins, though, because Jones is a better submission artist, and he's a better overall fighter. Pereira is known for just knocking people out, so he has a chance. Don't get me wrong. Pereira could definitely knock out Jon Jones, and Jones can knock him out and submit him, but I just think Jones is just way better overall as a fighter, so I'm looking forward to seeing these two go at it. It's going to be an unbelievable fight. Two of the greatest to ever step foot in the UFC for sure. I'm hoping Dana White announces this. I believe this could be the main event just because Jon Jones is American, and I believe the UFC is going to want an American to headline this card, especially for its 250th anniversary of America at the White House. I mean, I think this is going to be one of the greatest fights in the history of the UFC. It's just the two of the best to ever step foot in the octagon. Jon Jones is the GOAT. Pereira is one of the best for sure. 2-time division champion, looking to becoming a 3-time division champion. So I'm excited to see this fight. I don't know how if they don't book this fight, there's something wrong, but we'll see. I hope it happens. Let's go Jon Jones. I hope he wins because Jones is the GOAT, and I like Jones. I like Pereira too, don't get me wrong, but Jones is way better, and I'm hoping to see this fight, and I'm hoping they confirm it soon. But, like I said, on the other hand, you have Jon Jones, and then you have the greatest superstar to ever step foot in the UFC, the greatest entertaining superstar to ever step foot in the UFC, Conor McGregor. He's been teasing a return all year on social media. So far, he's been in training nonstop. But Ariel Helwani came out and said that he might not be fighting on the White House card. I don't know how he wouldn't. How do you not have him fight on the White House card? It's going to be the biggest event in the history of the UFC. You're not going to have the biggest superstar on it. I don't believe Ariel Helwani's remarks because he's got bad beef with Dana White. Dana White kind of cut him short after building his name, and he's kind of been excommunicated from UFC. He used to interview many fighters, but Dana White got tired of him because he always used to aggravate people. So I don't really believe Ariel in a way. He might have inside scoop. Who knows? He was right about Alex Pereira and Jon Jones because now everybody's posting about it. Not just him when it comes to that being the rumored main event, or if not co-main event. Conor McGregor will either be the main event or co-main event if he does fight on the White House, which I believe he will, because those two, Jon Jones and Conor McGregor would be two of the greatest back-to-back fights for these fighters, any fight in any sport of boxing or mixed martial arts in the history of the UFC. So if not, the rumor is Conor McGregor is supposedly going to headline, if he doesn't headline the UFC White House or co-main, he will headline International Fight Week. And International Fight Week is the biggest event, one of the biggest events in the UFC for sure. Conor McGregor's loved to fight on International Fight Week. He's always, shown out on International Fight Week many different times. He's supposed to fight International Fight Week last year. And broken toe and couldn't fight. I mean, whatever it is, what it is, he couldn't fight. But he's supposed to, if he doesn't fight on the White House, he said he's coming back this summer. So it's either the White House or International Fight Week. He said he's in negotiations as well. So we'll see what happens when it comes to him coming back to the UFC and fighting either on the White House or International Fight Week. I hope he comes back on this White House because it's going to be way bigger than International Fight Week when it comes to viewership. And plus, he has multiple brands that I'm sure that he would want the promotions for on that card, or advertisement, to help out because his name will be built up again when it comes to his businesses and whatever. But also, if he wins, I don't know how he doesn't get a title shot. If he beats Max Holloway or Charles Oliveira, I believe that is the fight that he will have if he does come back. It will be a BMF fight between Conor McGregor against one of those two, so we will see. But it's all speculation right now until tomorrow night when Dana White announces it. He said that he's erased the board many, many times, so the card does not get leaked. I understand that because leaks are very easy on social media nowadays when it comes to movies, when it comes to fights, when it comes to everything gets leaked. It's just crazy. Nothing's a secret anymore. So I understand what he's saying. I'm hoping that it happens. It's time for these two to be on the same card together. They have two of the best superstars ever step foot in the octagon, and it's time for him to come back. We'll see what happens, but my matchups for the White House, my top matchups, and co-main and main, I would have your best superstar ever on the main event, but I understand if Jon Jones, because he's American, he could be the main event also. So I would have main event, my prediction, Conor versus Max Holloway, because I have Max Holloway beating Charles, but if it's not Max Holloway, I believe it's Charles Oliveira. So you'd have Conor versus either one of those two. And then the co-main, you have Jones versus Pereira. We'll see what happens when that happens. I hope that happens. It's two of the best fighters ever back to back. So, and then imagine having Islam versus Ilya, because Ilya Depoirier has also been teasing on his social media that there's a big fight news coming. So we'll see what happens with that. Islam Makhachev also, his manager coming out saying that there's going to be big news coming out when it comes to him fighting. It could be Islam versus Kamaru Usman at the White House for all we know. I would love to see that fight. I would love Kamaru Usman to beat him because I'm not a fan of the Russians and Islam and Khabib and Umar and Usman and all those guys. They just don't like any of them. They're boring fighters to begin with. All they do is wrestle. 2 to 3 years in Dagestan. That's their famous line. So I'm tired of these guys. I'm hoping Islam loses. If he does fight at the White House, if he doesn't, I hope he loses whenever he fights next. So, but he is the pound for pound number 1 or number 2 great best fighter right now. Ilia Topuria is right there with him. We'll see. So I have that as the third matchup. So I have Conor versus the BMF winner for Saturday, whether it's Max or Charles. Jon Jones versus Alex Pereira. Ilia versus Islam. If not, Islam will fight Kamaru Usman, and Ilia will fight Justin Gaethje for the undisputed lightweight championship of the world. Yeah, because Justin Gaethje is the interim, and Justin Gaethje said he would like to be part of the White House card, but now people are saying that it's less likely that will happen because Ilia Topuria might be scheduled against somebody else. Ilia Topuria is walking around pretty bigger than usual. I think he's at 170 now. Yeah. He looked like he was at 170. He went for a run and on his training videos, and he looked bigger than he was at 155. So it looks like more of a welterweight weight for him. So that would be my top 4 when it comes to the UFC. So they're saying 6 to 7. You're saying 6, but Dana said he might add one more. But that's 4 so far. So I would have Conor versus the BMF winner, Charles, versus Max Holloway. Jon Jones versus Alex Pereira. Ilia versus Islam. Or Ilia versus Justin Gaethje. Islam versus Kamaru Usman. And then the 5th and 6th, you gotta have. I think you should have Sean O'Malley versus Peter Yan. I mean, Sean O'Malley's just been calling out Yan like crazy and wants to be on the card and just fight on this card on the White House. I mean, everybody wants to be on the White House card, but I think Sean O'Malley versus Peter Yan would be a great fight. Sean O'Malley beat him. I don't see why he doesn't deserve this fight. I think if not, they might do Yan and Merab again. I don't think that's gonna happen, but I think Sean O'Malley versus Peter Yan would be great for the bantamweight championship. So that would be my number 5 on that card. I'm trying to figure out who the 5th, the 6th, and 7th would be. I'm not too sure. When it comes to the 6th and 7th, but anyways, that's my 5, my first 5. Conor versus BMF winner, Jones Pereira, Islam versus Usman or Ilia versus Justin Gaethje, and Sean O'Malley versus Peter Yan. I think that's a stacked first 5. I mean, that is absolutely stacked. And you're going to tell me that wouldn't draw money for the UFC too, with all these people tuning in and watching it? I don't see why it wouldn't. But that's my prediction. The question is, will Conor McGregor win after 5 years not being in the UFC? Because the last time we've seen him in the UFC, he broke his foot against Dustin Poirier, snapped his ankle in half in 2021. It takes about, they say 16 to 18 months or 16 to 24 months to recover from a snapped ankle. He's well over that now. It's been 5 years, so, obviously he lost a little bit of the willpower to get back in the octagon. But now it looks like he's serious, because this is going to, if he loses on the White House, I think his career is over, honestly, because it's going to be on a big stage. So I believe he is taking it very, very seriously. So this could be the last time we see Conor McGregor walking down to an octagon in the UFC. I don't know if we'll ever see him again. If he loses, but I hope he doesn't. We'll see what happens. If not, if he doesn't fight on the White House, we'll see him International Fight Week, and maybe he'll fight Nate Diaz. I mean, I would love to see that fight too. Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor 3 at International Fight Week. We will see what happens when it comes to that. Nate Diaz came out and said that he's willing to fight Conor McGregor for the 3rd fight. Dustin Poirier even called out, even though he's retired, he would fight him again. They've been going back and forth on social media and other people. So, I mean, it's exciting to see. It would be exciting to see Nate Diaz come back to the UFC, because it is his home. He is 40 years old, though. But he's still an entertaining fighter. I would like to see him come back and fight one of these guys. Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz 3 would be huge. People would watch it, and the UFC would make a whole bunch of money, whole bunch of viewership. It would just be a win-win for everybody when it comes to the UFC and the fans. So we'll see. But speaking of UFC problems and, their greatest, their best, their heavyweight champion right now, I don't know if he is the heavyweight champion anymore, but he is until Dana White announces that he's officially stripped or vacated of his belt. Tom Aspinall made one of the sneakiest moves in the history of the UFC. I don't know why you would sign with Eddie Hearn, Dana White's enemy in boxing, and his new promotion agent, his agency that he started up, Eddie Hearn's Matchroom. Tom Aspinall, signed a commercial deal recently, which is obviously a big, huge business move because Tom Aspinall will be making a lot more money. Aspinall will, in the long run, his brand will grow. It'll grow globally. His sponsorship deals will increase, and his long-term career earnings will build. Aspinall even said the move is about setting up his family financially for generations. So I don't know if Tom Aspinall is serious about coming back to the UFC, because why would you sign with Dana White's enemy? Why would you sign with Dana White's enemy in boxing that they constantly go back and forth? I mean, Eddie Hearn just accepted Dana White's proposal to fight. I mean, that would be funny. I mean, who would want? I mean, I wouldn't want to see it, but like, they don't get along because they constantly go back and forth on social media, and they both try to compare who signs better fighters to their companies. But they have a rivalry, between their boxing promotions and Dana White's new promotion, Zuffa Boxing. This partnership adds another layer to the tension between these two because, now they're battling. They already had beef, but now they're battling who's a better boxing promoter, who's going to sign their guys, who's going to take away guys from certain people. But we'll see when it comes to that. The fighting future for Tom Aspinall in the UFC is very bleak, in my opinion, because he says back to business, and then not even a month and a half, 2 months ago, he says, "All right, I can't fight anybody because I need another eye surgery." But back to business, and then all of a sudden, after back to business, signing a contract with Eddie Hearn is very strange timing when it comes. I don't know why you would do that, but he's recovering from an eye surgery, supposedly, whatever, after, like I said, an eye poke incident with Ciryl Gane. And I don't know if Tom Aspinall will be a UFC fighter for much longer, because obviously he's seeing other money and other opportunities and other people, especially when they're rivalries. I think that's a bad move on his part. I think the only fight that you can make for Tom Aspinall, I don't think he'll be fighting at the White House. I think Alex Pereira will be fighting Jones. If Tom Aspinall is okay to come back for the UFC, and if Dana White doesn't want to cut ends with him, I think you gotta reschedule either the Ciryl Gane rematch or whoever the champion is at heavyweight coming out of the UFC White House card. Jon Jones versus Aspinall maybe will finally happen. I doubt it. I think Jones, if he beats Pereira, will retire, and Pereira will be the interim heavyweight champion of the world and will fight Tom Aspinall if Tom Aspinall is serious about the UFC, or if Pereira maybe doesn't want to fight at heavyweight anymore and it's totally vacated to anybody, and they have Tom Aspinall versus Ciryl Gane for a rematch. I would like to see that, because I think Gane beat Tom Aspinall all the way up to the eye poke, and whatever, the referee had to jump in and stop it, I guess, because obviously Tom Aspinall couldn't see out of those eyes. It's a shame. It's a shame that another year, back-to-back years, heavyweight divisions are being held up by people that either just are playing games and don't want to fight and, just want to sit back and relax and enjoy as champion, or somebody like Tom Aspinall, I was talking about Jon Jones, but now is Tom Aspinall, He was complaining about Jones not wanting to fight him, even though he said he was going to fight him, whatever. But Tom Aspinall, now with an eye injury, he had 2 eye surgeries. He had one last year, late last year. Then he just had one early this year. He's holding up the whole heavyweight division. I mean, just vacate the belt, bro. Just leave the UFC and go to Eddie Hearn at this point. If you're gonna hold up the UFC and if you're gonna play games with Dana White, I think that's why Dana White is kind of getting agitated in a way about Tom Aspinall, and I don't think he's happy about him going with Eddie Hearn and joining him with this Matchroom agency, that Eddie Hearn runs, and he's officially his manager. Every time you see Tom Aspinall walk into the UFC now, you're going to see Eddie Hearn, because now they work together. And I don't know how that's going to be with Dana White, but it is what it is. I don't think Tom Aspinall is going to be in the UFC much longer, especially when Tom Aspinall says that he is going to be a boxer eventually and wants to go down the Conor McGregor road, wants to go down many other people's roads that were former UFC fighters that became boxers, like Francis Ngannou, when Francis Ngannou, I believe, beat Tyson Fury, but then his boxing career was very shortened by Anthony Joshua when Anthony Joshua beat Francis Ngannou by knockout by putting him to sleep very, very quickly. So I don't think Tom Aspinall is serious about being a UFC fighter. I believe he wants to get out of that contract. And he's vocally came out and spoke bad about the UFC recently, saying that they don't care about their fighters and that they don't care about how their health is and that they don't check up on people. They only care about keeping the business moving and keeping the competition going. I mean, do you blame him? Do you blame the UFC in a way, though? Because you complained all last year about Jon Jones sitting on the sideline and not fighting anybody, not fighting you, and calling him a duck, literally ducking everybody. You have him as a duck, emoji after emoji, Duck Jones. And then you have eye surgery, and then you have another eye surgery, and then randomly you say back to business with the fist and whatever, pen emoji, whatever he did on his Instagram. To me, you're just playing games with the UFC now. I think it's being a hypocrite in a way, so we'll see when it comes to Tom Aspinall coming back. Somebody said it's all about the dollar bills with most athletes. I understand that, but I understand what you're saying, but the UFC wants competition too, though. Somebody said Jones versus Alex, the White House. I don't see how it wouldn't be that fight. There's no other fight right now that I could see. Everybody's saying pretty much without even saying it, including Charles Oliveira, when he came out and they said that he said he believes that Alex Pereira is fighting somebody better than Cyril Gane, and that without even saying Jones's name, I think Jones is the guy. I think that'll be announced tomorrow. Jones Pereira easily. So that's my prediction for the White House fight between those two. Max by KO. Yep, I agree. I take Max over Max Holloway over Charles Oliveira easily. I would say by KO because Max is the best boxer in the UFC. And we'll see what happens when it comes to that. Max by KO. Jones White House. Yep. Jones Alex. Yep. I understand what you're saying about when it comes to dollar bills and when it comes to most athletes. I understand people don't want to fight in the UFC anymore because they want the bag. But the UFC has the money, has the viewership. They have the attention of people when it comes to fighting. It's just the way it is. They're the number one in the world right now when it comes to fighting. Boxing sucks overall right now. I mean, for such a long period of time, besides my guy Anthony Joshua, which I love Anthony Joshua. He's an amazing fighter. I'm so glad that he ended this long drought long drought of Jake Paul, because Jake Paul is not a fighter, and he finally put him in his place. Go back to YouTube or Disney, like I say all the time. But like I said, boxing is not where it used to be, like in the 80s and 90s when you had such legends, and now the judges are corrupt, I think, in a way too. I like Ryan Garcia, I like Anthony Joshua, I like Canelo, but there's not many people outside of that. And it's sad in a way that they announced September that they're having Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. I mean, I'm excited to see it. Don't get me wrong. I think it's going to be a great fight because Manny Pacquiao is unbelievably quick for his age, and Floyd Mayweather is the best defensive boxer ever in the history of the UFC. But it's sad in a way though when you have two 40-plus-year-olds fighting, as a major draw in boxing when you don't have anybody else really to step in and show that sport is great. It's really sad in a way, but it's going to be an exciting fight. Everybody's watching it. I think everybody's going to go see it, especially it's the first boxing match at the Sphere ever. I mean, the Sphere is sick. It's a whole screen. Imagine looking up and seeing a whole screen. It's absolutely insane. It's one of the most sickest things that were ever created when it comes to construction and now being used for venues for fights and concerts and stuff. It's absolutely unbelievable. I can't wait to see what happens when it comes to that fight. I think everybody's going to go see it, including UFC fighters, boxing legends, celebrities. Everybody's going to see it. I'm excited to see that fight between Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. And hopefully there's no injuries in between that, because last time Manny Pacquiao fought Floyd Mayweather, Money Mayweather, is that he had a torn muscle in his shoulder, which kind of limited in a way. It is what it is. Manny Pacquiao lost. Floyd Mayweather is one of the greatest of all time. He's 50-0 for a reason. He has every right to tell how great he is because nobody's beat him. The greatest defensive boxer, and he's rumored to be fighting 2 exhibition fights in boxing. Let me look it up. I'm trying to remember who he is fighting against in the exhibitions. One is Mike Tyson, which is whatever. I mean, why would you fight Mike Tyson for an exhibition? The guy's 60 years old. Obviously, it's for money. I wouldn't think Floyd Mayweather needs money. Because he is one of the most wealthiest boxers there was at a time. But he is rumored to be fighting him in spring of 2026, April 25th, which is a month away, a little over a month away. I don't know. I don't want to see it because I like Mike Tyson a lot. He's my favorite boxer ever. He's an absolute legend. I hope to see a relatively good fight, but it's going to be all for money at the end because nobody's going to be knocking each other out. When it's an exhibition, nobody gets knocked out. It's either the judges just either label it as a draw or they just give it to whoever. It's not a big deal, which is a waste of time, in my opinion. The whole Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight was the biggest waste of time in the history of boxing. I mean, why would Jake Paul call out a 60-year-old to fight? It's just so sad. Jake Paul's an idiot, in my opinion, when it comes to boxing picks. But he finally met his match, and Anthony Joshua put him to bed quick. It was good to see. It was good to see. I was so happy to see Anthony Joshua beat him. We'll see. I want to know Anthony Joshua is coming back soon, which I'm excited to see. There's not many people in boxing that I'm looking forward to seeing fight anymore, besides maybe 2 or 3 guys, because these guys are just not good enough or relevant or big enough for people to watch. But I'm really curious who Anthony Joshua is going to fight in boxing. I mean, I think it'll be Tyson Fury next. Depending if Tyson Fury wins his comeback fight, And I'm rolling with Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua I like a lot. He's aggressive. He's a knockout guy. Guy's a monster. Anthony Joshua is a monster. So I'm hoping he beats him. We'll see what happens. But like I said, White House is coming up. The card announcement is coming up. UFC 326 is coming up. I can't wait to see who wins tomorrow, and I can't wait to see Dana White announcing the fights tomorrow, and we'll see what happens when it comes to that. UFC 400 is not too far away, too. I mean, we're already at UFC 326, so probably by next year, if not, probably next year, I think we'll have the UFC 400. And Bruce Buffer will still be announcing people. He's planning to do it for many more years. Bruce Buffer is an absolute GOAT when it comes to announcing fights, so I'm looking forward to him continuing his career and being that amazing ring announcer that he is, announcing in the red corner, in the blue corner, it's time. The guy's the best. I can't wait to see him announce more and more that he at the UFC. He's just the best at doing it. So we'll see when it comes to Max Holloway, when it comes to Charles Oliveira, and who wins tomorrow night. I have Max Holloway, like I said, by knockout. And I think Holloway will be facing Conor McGregor at the White House for the BMF belt, along with Jones versus Pereira, Ilya versus maybe Islam, or Ilya versus Justin Gaethje for the lightweight championship, Islam versus Kamaru Usman. We'll see what happens. I'm excited to see it. It's going to be very exciting, but do you guys have any comments on YouTube or TikTok? Thank you guys for joining, and thanks for supporting. Appreciate you. What do you guys have to say? Let's see what else you guys have to say on YouTube first. Agreed. Way more people watch UFC. Yep. UFC is the truth. UFC is the truth. Boxing is not the way it used to be. You used to have Tyson, Holyfield, Foreman, Muhammad Ali, Spinks. You used to have, I'm trying to remember. There's many other people. I'm trying to remember other names. There's, Manny Pacquiao in his prime, 8-division champ. I mean, that's insane. 8 divisions being a champ. But yeah. Somebody said, haven't been to the Sphere yet. Yeah, I would love to go to the Sphere. That's insane. That venue is insane. I mean, you go and you just see a screen and it just like you're in a like I can't even explain. It's just amazing seeing it on social media. Money Mayweather. So you're telling me you have Money Mayweather over Manny Pacquiao? I mean, don't get me wrong. It could definitely happen. Definitely could happen. Money Mayweather is the truth. 50-0, like I said. Yep. Money Mayweather is the truth. We'll see what happens. Maybe Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao said he is coming for that loss, though. He is trying to beat him and give him that 50-1. It's going to be hard, though, even though, Manny Pacquiao has that knockout power. Almost time for baseball. Let's go Yankees. Yes. Can't wait for the Yankees to start. Looking forward to going to the games and seeing Judge. Let's go Team USA. WBC, World Baseball Classic, has started, and Judge is off to a very good start. In exhibitions against the Rockies, he was very good. The Yankees look really good too, with Lombard Jr. I don't know if Volpe's gonna have a job anymore as a shortstop for the Yankees. So let's see what happens when it comes to that. I think George Lombard Jr. might take his spot. I think he's very good, or Caballero will start the season. If Volpe sucks, it's time to just get rid of him. I mean, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. There was a lot of conspiracy and a lot of, his shoulder problem and injury and how he played through it. So I'll give him a break when it comes to that. But if he stinks it up the first month or two of the season, yeah, it's time to get rid of him. It's way overdue. Have George Lombard start shortstop. And then maybe we'll see Spencer Jones play in the outfield with Cody Bellinger and those boys. I mean, Spencer Jones is absolutely unbelievable. I mean, the guy crushes the ball. This guy is absolute monster. I mean, if he really develops into what people are saying he could be a great, great Yankee. And God only knows what could happen from there. Somebody said, I think Sally Floyd just looking for another huge payday. It won't be much of a fight. It's going to be a fight. What do you mean it's going to be a fight? Why would it not be a fight? This is counting on his record. If Floyd does not win this fight, he is not undefeated anymore. He is going to come out there and try to beat Manny Pacquiao, and Manny Pacquiao is going to want to end him and take a loss, give a loss to Floyd Mayweather. So I don't know how. It's definitely going to be more than a payday for that fight. I don't see how it wouldn't. I think those guys are going to be going at it, my opinion. Manny Pacquiao could win that fight by knockout, and Floyd Mayweather will just put on defensive clinic, run around the ring. So boring in a way, but he can run around the ring. The best head movement when it comes to and shoulder movement when it comes to defending and moving away from punching. The guy is unbelievable. The best defensive boxer in the history of the UFC. He can knock people out too. People forget he used to knock people out a lot early in his career, but then he started moving towards more of a defensive way. So we'll see when it comes to that. We will see when it comes to Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao too. I'm excited to see it. But just like I said, I just want to thank you guys for joining. I appreciate the support on TikTok. I like TikTok more than Instagram. Much more. Thank you guys for joining on YouTube. I appreciate you guys joining YouTube. You know, support on YouTube, liking, subscribing. Like and subscribe. If you're on TikTok, please like and subscribe on YouTube. If you have a YouTube account, let's get these subscribers up. Let's get more viewership up. Let's do it, baby. Come on. Somebody said, you really think it's going to be a legit fight between Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao? Said it 50 times already. Yes, I think it will be a legitimate fight between Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. I think these guys are definitely going to want to take each other's heads off. It's a lot of history between these two. Manny Pacquiao wants to beat Floyd Mayweather. Floyd is 49 years old. You really think he is going to fight? Yes. He is not going to want to end his professional career at the Sphere with a loss. If he's 50-1, he's not going to like the way that looks. That's why he's fighting Manny Pacquiao, because he's relatively in his age. Manny Pacquiao is 47, but he don't look like 47. 46, he almost won the welterweight championship against Barrios, which Ryan Garcia just beat him for the belt. So I think this is going to be a legit fight. Manny Pacquiao could beat him. Floyd could beat him. It's going to be back and forth. I expect a good fight. I'm locked in to see it. It's in September. I feel like it's too far away for that type of fight, but it is what it is. It'd be a good pre-birthday fight, you know, to watch. We'll see what happens. Yeah. We will see when it comes to that fight. UFC White House, BMF champion tomorrow. I'm excited about fighting. I'm excited about the fighting weekend that's ahead. It's gonna be exciting. But like I said, I want to thank you guys for joining on TikTok and YouTube. And I'm looking forward to next week of more of sports. We're going to talk more about baseball, more about basketball. Jason Tatum is back with the Celtics. Can't stand the Boston Celtics. Let's go Knicks. Looking forward to, playoff basketball coming around. Looking forward to the USA hopefully winning the baseball classic before, opening day starts in the major leagues, with the Yankees hopefully starting off with the hot start and hopefully winning a championship. Jeez, way too long. I'm looking forward to even the Giants, what they're going to do. Rumors are that Jackson Dart is recruiting Odell Beckham Jr. back to the New York Giants, which I love Odell. Best one-handed catch in the history of the NFL. I'm looking forward to Odell coming back to the Giants. If it is true, I think he'll be great with Jackson Dart, be a good leader for the young people. He said he's willing to do whatever the Giants want him to do, and I think Harbaugh wouldn't put up if he wasn't any other way. I can't wait to see what happens. Let's go. I just can't wait for more sports. It's going to be exciting. But thank you guys for joining, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next week. Share the live on TikTok. Share the live on YouTube. Subscribe, like, and comment. Thank you guys for joining.